thank you so much for joining us up here in the Sky Lounge for your third edition of All Access Pass. As usual, I'm your cruise host, Jason, and today I am joined, I know, broken record, I'm joined by another absolute legendary group from the 60s, 70s, and all the way through to today. Put your hands together for the Hollies.
I'm Bobby Elliott, I'm the drummer, one of the original guys.
Yeah.
This is our lead singer here, Peter Howarth.
The baby.
Tony Hicks, another guy from 1963, 62, when we first started.
So the reason we were saying baby in the middle is Tony and Bobby have been with them since the very beginning, founding members, 1963.
Early 63 we went into Abbey Road Studios and started making records. And it was like a sausage machine throughout the 60s, into the 70s and start of the 80s. We had about 30 top 30 hits in the UK. Going right through. So we were using those famous studios that became famous when the Beatles changed the name. It used to be EMI Studios on Abbey Road. And obviously the album came along, they called it Abbey Road, and everybody knows it as Abbey Road now. Abbey Road now. But I spent half of my life there.
Well, I mean, if 1963 is roughly the correct date, 2023, that's 60 years. 60 years, that's beautiful. I mean, first and foremost, that's fantastic. Tony's trying to be quiet down at the end, so I'm gonna throw this at Tony.
He's trying to hide.
He's trying to hide. I saw him go all the way to the end of the panel. Tony, tell us a little bit about, let's start early and easy. Tell us a little about the Dolphins and how that became, or you two became then part of the Hollies.
The Dolphins, yeah, well, that's thrown one at me. It was the band that Bob and I were members of, which we used to tour around Manchester and as far as Liverpool, just semi-pro, you know. I mean, I was an apprentice electrician, not a very good one, and I was told to sort of dismantle a fuse board, and it was one of those really big ones, and the fuses were bigger than this. And he'd given me the wrong one to dismantle. I was only 15, and as soon as I started, it was live. Oh, no. And it threw me so far across the room. I thought there's probably a better way to go than doing this. So here I am.
60 years later, yeah, you're still taking fuses out of fuse boxes. Yeah,
I do actually.
And Bobby, why don't you do us a kindness? Why don't you tell us how the young man in the middle became a part of your fabulous group?
Well, Peter Howarth came along in 2000 and whatever it was.
2004.
Yeah. And we'd heard a lot about him. We knew his pedigree. And he's a lad from the north of England, like we are. He's from a town called Blackpool on the west coast. Yeah, we did a little run through with him, and it started fitting straight away. And we get on like a house on fire, and he's a great frontman.
Absolutely.
I said that.
No. And Peter, I asked you this. We did this on our Flower Power cruise a couple times, actually. Mm-hmm. But this is the first time we've had you on the 7th cruise. So I'll re-ask a few of the questions. Forgive me. Okay. What did it feel like when you got the call to join the legendary Hollies?
Well, actually, the first call that I got was before Bob said it. It was, I think it was originally when Alan first left the band, and it was Ian Parker gave me a call originally to find out if I was available. At the time I wasn't.
That's our keyboard player.
Yes. Sorry, Ian Parker keyboard player. But it was the next time that I was around. I said yes, definitely count me in. No, it was surreal. For me, it was the kind of thing that people around you get more shocked than you do. Not shocked, but get very excited.
Well, your brother, right?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, my brother was absolutely beside himself. You know, he was absolutely, couldn't believe it. Yeah, it was a great honour, and it was very quick. We literally, like Bob said, we met up
in a little place in the middle of London, like a little club, with an acoustic guitar. Tony played the guitar, sang Air That I Breathe, He Ain't Heavy, Long Cool Woman, and then we did a gig on that was about the Wednesday, we did a gig in Germany on the Friday or the Saturday.
Threw you right in the deep end.
Yeah, we did. I don't think we had a rehearsal, we just, did it, didn't we?
Yeah.
As you walk, I hope you remember the lyrics as you walk on stage.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So it's been 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years for you.
So that's the third hit like that. Oh, well, thank you, guys. Go watch time.
Bobby, tell us a little bit about how, now when you guys, forgive me Peter,
No.
when you and Tony, obviously you joined with the original, you guys created the original Hollies. How did you, A, get the name?
Right.
Go with that first, then I'll get it.
Yeah, the name, well, it's a toss-up whether it was around Christmas time or Buddy Holly.
Buddy Holly, yeah.
We were, all the British bands in those early days were influenced by Buddy Holly and the Crickets. And it had been sort of like skiffle, what they call skiffle groups and homemade music.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys of our age saw Buddy Holly on the London Palladium TV show. And that sparked a big sort of revolution in a way. You know, it made us realise, us northern sort of working class lads,
Electricians.
the electrician, me a mechanic, well, yeah, and it made us realise that it was possible to get a drum kit, and we could already play. We were quite proficient players, but seeing Buddy and the Crickets, it just brought it. Hey, we can do that, and we did.
And to your point, I had John Lodge up here a couple days ago and Leo Sayer yesterday, and both of them called out Buddy Holly as one of their premier early day influences that helped them not only realize, to your point, they could do it, but also helped them develop their style and their sound a bit. Did Buddy Holly influence your sound as well, would you say, or did you have other influences?
Well, Alan Clark and Graham Nash, Crosby, Stills and Nash, one of the original. Alan Clark and Graham were from a section of Manchester called Salford. Yeah, there you go. And like the Coronation Street sort of area, poor families, and we escaped into rock and roll. And we'd heard about Graham and Alan. There were little boys called the Two, and then there were the Two Teens and Ricky and Dane Young, and then the Hollies were forming, and they wanted a guitar player. And they'd seen Tony playing with the Dolphins and me, but they really wanted, their managers was following us around. Tony, we're going to, Ron Richards has taken us down to Abbey Road Studios and we're doing an audition, we want you to come along. And at that time, the Hollies were doing the Cavern, they were doing 2 shows a day for a week. At the Cavern at Liverpool, you would do a lunchtime show. Right, people would come out for the lunch and rock a bit, and then they go back to work, and then you do an evening show. We were paid quite a pittance, really, but we didn't care. And it built from there. So Tony was with the Hollies. A few months later, I joined, and as I said earlier, we were just churning. It seemed so easy then.
I'm sure, yeah. Just some kids making it happen.
Yeah.
And let's jump. Well, first and foremost, you remember this. I should add this. I allow the audience to ask questions through cards. So I will slip in audience questions as we go. So before I get to my next question, Roger, all the way from Alabama, wants to know who was the inspiration for the woman in the long, cool black dress.
Quite a few young ladies, I think, at that time. But Alan Clark wrote that along with Roger Cook, and they'd been out for a liquid lunch. We were, Tony and I and the rest of the guys were finishing an album off called Distant Light, and CBS over here wanted it, CBS Epic wanted it, and we needed one more track. And Clarky came in after having his brandies and pints of bitter or whatever, sat down and played this up-tempo country western sounding Long Cool Woman. And I said, and Tony said, yeah, well, slow it down. And I said, the intro, Alan had been playing that for, he'd sit in the dressing room when we were waiting between TV shows, between takes or whatever, and he'd twiddle away on this thing that sounded like, what MacArthur, no, not MacArthur Park, but one of those it always sounded different every time we played it. And we didn't have an intro, and I said, Alan, that thing that you play in the dressing room, stick that on the front. And about the second take, we did it, we put it down. We didn't have a producer then, Ron was ill, our producer, and we did it at Air London Studios when it was above Oxford Circus. An engineer called John Punter, and it was down. I mean, we just did it, and thankfully we just put it down quickly. No harm. Had we sort of tried to do a Hollies production on it, we might have ruined it, because we might have put harmonies on and horrible things like that.
Horrible things.
Or a string section. No?
Yes, right. Something attractive to only you at that point in time.
So there it was, #1 in the States.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, by all means. Right. Peter.
Yeah.
What is your favorite song to sing as a Holly?
He Ain't Heavy.
Oh. And why?
Because it's an amazing song.
He Ain't Heavy.
An absolutely amazing song, and there's a certain feeling you get with. I mean, it's great. There's a lot of great. There's a lot of great Hollies songs to sing.
It's an unfair question.
Yeah, but I do believe that song is very special in the way that it conveys so many different meanings for each individual person that listens to it. They make up their own story about what each line means to them, and whatever the song means to the writer, it goes beyond that. There's a sort of transmitting of an emotion to people that immediately gets them, and it can be, and people cry when they hear the song.
Yeah.
You don't get much more emotion than that when people say, "Oh, I cried," you know. I'll try and sing it in tune next time. Sorry, but no, that song is an unbeatable song, and I wish I'd written it.
Well, funny enough, the question from the audience is, I asked them to write down their names and where they're from. Names, corned beef and cabbage. God bless you. From Boca Raton.
Tasty.
Yeah. In He Ain't Heavy, was there a person in particular being referred to, or was it just 1969?
It was written by two American guys, Bobby Scott and Bobby Russell, and Tony found the song covered in dust. A demo, it was a lacquer as we call them then, and he was in the publisher's office in the West End somewhere. And this guy was playing, he used to play you Italian songs and translate the lyrics, whispering in your ear as he played the Italian song. You know, like the Dusty Springfield songs and all that sort of thing. And Tony said, yeah, that's he'd had enough of the guy sort of getting too close to him. And just as he was about to leave, he saw this lacquer, this demo. I said, oh, by the way, what's that? And the guy said, well, I don't think it's for you, but have a listen. And Tony fell in love with it. He brought it up to, we were in Abbey Road after lunch, and he brought it up, and we all liked it. We could see the potential. And credit to our producer, Ron Richards, he could see where the strings were going to fit and all that, you know. And yeah.
Who was singing it, Bob? Who
played piano on it?
Well, that's your version. You played piano, I think, but who sung the original on the demo? Not the demo, on the acetate, on
the lacquer.
Yeah,
one of the writers.
Was it?
One of the writers sang it.
Okay.
Yeah. I forget, but yeah. So right.
The piano player on the record.
Well, hang on.
Don't interrupt Bobby. He's got a lot to say.
Hang on, because we thought, well, Ron said, we need a piano player. He said, I know this guy. He's got a band and it's called Reg. I'll phone Dick James up and find out where he is. So we're just starting the session, and this little guy trundles in, and it's Reg Dwight, just about to change his name to Elton John, because Uncle Dick this is Dick James, had a plan. You know, we're going to, and around that. So anyway, Elton played the session. It was me on drums, Bernie Calvert on bass, and Elton on piano. And I realised the other week, because they just done a documentary on Abbey Road Studios called If These Walls Could Sing.
These walls could sing.
And Elton came there, but he wouldn't have been allowed in, or, I mean, I'm joking slightly there, because he never actually recorded there as Elton John. And Mary McCartney, who produced the thing, she said, Elton, I said, yeah, but there's an in there, because if you get the original 16 track and play it, you'll hear Elton going, 1, 2, 3.
Because he cough on it? Yeah, that's impressive.
Well, we blacked that out. But yeah, so Elton was on, and he did a great job. He played on quite a few of our tracks around that time. And then, what was that song that Dick played us at, your song, is it? Your song?
Yes.
Dick had a demo.
He offered it to us, believe it or not.
Yeah. He had it on a demo, and he played it in the control room, number 2 studio. And he said, "You guys, are you interested in this?" And Tony said, "That's a good song." Anyway, I'll think about it. Dick went away. The following day, phoned Tony up. He said, "Tony, I've been thinking. No, that's going to be Elton's first record. I'm going to put some strings on it, and that's it." Because we showed so much interest, Uncle Dick was away with it.
Straight to Reg, it went. Jeannie, that kind of answers your question about what it was like performing with Reggie Dwight. Michelle from Minneapolis, who always is so gracious, and says thank you in big letters on her question. Who is, are, or were your heroes and why, musically or not? I'm going to make Tony go first because he's trying to be quiet at the end.
Well, you mentioned Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
We used to buy all his records and perform the songs. A lot of English artists like Johnny Kidd and the Pirates, who did Shaking All Over and all of those. He
That
used
was a big influence on all the British bands, wasn't it?
Yeah, he used to come around the ballrooms that we used to go and just ogle, his songs. Who else? Joe Brown, actually, funny enough.
Joe.
He's only just retired. He was a really good guitar player for particularly, sort of late 50s, early 60s. Lots more, but I can't.
We're going to make Peter answer now. Who influenced you?
I have to say, when I first joined the Hollies, when I got the list of songs we were going to do in Germany that week, I thought, I don't know, I can't remember that song. And I went home and put the CD on. I thought, oh my God, I do know that song. Because I was ingrained with it, my brother. So when I was 3 and 4 growing up, I had all these songs that were in my sub. So I have to say the Hollies has to be part of.
Of course, yeah, good answer.
But as I was very into Hank Marvin, very much the Shadows. I love the Shadows. And as I got older, Jackson Brown has been a big influence. Jackson Brown, and this last week, heartbreakingly, David Lindley passed away. And for me, as a musician, for me, he's one of the most consummate, beautiful musicians that gave so much to everybody else. And he was the kind of guy that comes in, and nobody really knows apart from the people who are working. They all go, "Wow, this guy's amazing." Like Jackson Brown wrote a lovely eulogy about him today, which was just so beautiful. So yeah, David Lindley and lots of people. But yeah.
Anybody to add, Bobby? Anybody you want to add as an influence or hero?
Well, I go back to sort of like the jazz. I was a big jazzer. I was into modern jazz, Thelonious Monk, and then I got into the rock thing. I thought, well, yeah, I can play this. It's a piece of cake. And I got into people like Earl Palmer with the Little Richard records. And Earl Palmer was then a session guy on the West Coast. He played on Eddie Cocker and stuff, and Come On Everybody and all those sort of things. And that he nailed it. Earl Palmer was me being a drummer. That's what I sought after, and I modelled my professional career on this style, really.
Love it. Martin comes to us from Wales. Yeah. After such a long and successful career, what do any of you feel you have left still to achieve?
Well, we'll see tonight, won't we?
Spelling, yeah. Or do you have any regrets in your career? He doubles that at the end here.
No.
No? That's beautiful. Why would you? Right? Why would you? Sarah comes to us from Maine. Oh, this is very apt. Will the U.S. tour be rescheduled? Obviously canceled in 2020 due to COVID.
Not at the moment. That was so sad. That was looking.
Yeah. It looked a really good tour.
Really good. Everything about it, and all of a sudden the rug was just pulled from under us, and it hasn't appeared as yet. We would have loved to have done it.
It was planned again. It was planned in 20.
It's all up and down. No, we would have loved to have done it, but nothing to do.
Not yet. Okay. Tommy from Fort Myers. Now that David Crosby sadly has passed, has Graham expressed any interest in possibly returning to tour or play with you? Next question. Okay.
done it.
Reunion. I mean, we did an album with him in the. Was it the 70s or 80s or what?
It was 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, what goes around?
I love that Bobby's talking about it. Yeah, he's done a lot with us back in the 70s, you know, yesterday. It's just, he's running.
Well, I was with Graham, what was it? Well, again, it's probably the last year or the year before, just before lockdown. He was at the Lowry Theatre in Salford, where he was born, and I was backstage there with him. So everything's fine there. You know, he's got his own world out there, and it was very sad about David, but some very happy memories of working with Nashy, and you know, he had a great sense of humour, similar sense of humour to me. We used to laugh a lot, and but he also wrote some great songs before Crosby, Stills and Nash.
I can see it happening. There's no reason not to at all. Graham is great. He's got the greatest high harmony that I've ever worked with, and he's just a really enthusiastic musician. You know, he'd be at the drop of a hat, he'd be over, and yeah, I'd love to do it. You know.
I love that you guys call him Nashy. That's fantastic. Yeah. Old Nashy.
He was also known as Willie. Yeah, because his middle name is William. Graham William Nash, so he was Willie.
I'm glad you said that.
Tyne, all the way from Maine. Oh, this is interesting. Do you have, or would you be willing to share, has there been a most bizarre stage mishap ever during a performance?
We'll let you know after tonight.
Well, it's in the day of pyrotechnics, and you go right back to Graham again. He was with us, and we were using those stupid things, and at the end of the show, he went to sort of shake someone's hand at the front. Coincidentally, it was time for a flash thing to go off. He took his eyelashes off. So,
Poor Willie.
Yeah. So he hasn't been wanted to be with us.
That was the last straw.
It's not a lot of things going on. The only thing I remember were clearer is just the fact of the band starting when I'm nowhere near the stage, or you know, I'm still in the dressing room, and you can hear the intro going off, and the guys are playing around and round and round and round for the introduction. That's quite normal.
That's rookie hazing, I believe they call it.
Maybe. But who thought that explosions and concerts go well? They don't really.
Only if you like your eyebrows.
Yeah.
John and Kathy Ryan, who come to us from Mississippi, we saw your wonderful performance in Guildford, UK last year, and we're hoping for the US tour. Are there any plans? Blah, blah, blah. We already kind of answered that. But if you do, it's more of a comment. Please, 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 please. Please, please, please. There's 6 pleases. Include Biloxi, Mississippi, or New Orleans. We're not picky. On your tour.
Well, we'd love to. We'd love to come. But as Tony said earlier, we had a great tour all lined up just at the start of lockdown. We'd like to get that rolling again, but it's down to the promoters, you know.
Jan or John? Jan, right? From Austin? Jan, right? Jan?
Yeah.
Austin? You're back there. 2 questions. First one. Oh, good question. When you first started, this is for Bobby or Tony, when you first started, did you or the band have any idea your music would last like it has? Or were you considering it more of a
not quite this long. For 3 or 4 years we were planning.
3 or 4 years, just a short shot.
Yeah, well, that's how it was. You know, you had one record, and the follow-up was generally the same record part 2. You know,
Extensions.
Yeah, but no, we experimented a bit more. It's funny enough, the hotel we were in yesterday was a great sort of calypso band playing there, and it reminded us, we used one in Carrie-Anne, the calypso
bands in Carrie-Anne. Yeah. We had to tune them with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years and a little bit more.
And here you are, 60 some odd years later. Also, and we already asked you this, sir, so we'll go to the either side of Peter. What is your favorite song to perform or sing, Tony?
Oh, The Air That I Breathe, probably. I sort of, it's one that the audience hopefully always like, and we could virtually stop and just leave it to the audience. I don't really fancy that tonight. We could do that up on stage, of course. Yeah.
Bobby, what about you, sir? Favorite song?
The favourites, well, heavy, as Pete said, Air. I mean, we are building up by then. But Lonco, I like to rock a bit. Lonco Woman in a Black Dress.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of album tracks as well that are people probably not that familiar with, but you know, certain things I'll. In fact, a cover job of ours, a Buddy Holly song called "What to Do," and we got Pete Wingfield on keyboards. That is magic, and I play that every so often. So that's quite pleasant.
Is there a story behind Long Tall Woman?
Long Cool Woman?
Yeah. And there more of a story to it.
There isn't really. It's just that story of Clarkey and Roger Cook having the liquid lunch.
Yeah.
And us being just one song short of a picnic.
Easier then. What would you say is the best album released by the Hollies? This is from Frank from Coco Fleur. Or do you have it?
It's a tough one. The earlier ones are a lot of originals. You know, the full albums of original stuff written by Graham Nash, Alan Clark, and Tony Hicks here. And I think some of their early writing was good. It has a certain charm to it. Innocence, which was around in the 60s, and it was just a magical time. So yeah, I can't think of a one. It's just you know, just.
The one we when we got back with Graham to record, I mean, What Goes Around, was it? I kind of like that. It was sort of done half in Abbey Road and half over in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
got
we did.
Great memories of it.
Yeah, that was fun doing that. Yeah.
That was memory lane, is what that was right there. That was memories we're not privy to in this story. Oh yeah, that was a good time. Lynn comes all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Any plans to visit Australia?
Well, we were there 2 or 3 years ago, weren't we?
Yes, you were. I saw you.
Yeah, that's
Oh yeah, we
come back, they said.
We want to go back. We want to go back. We're waiting to get there. You know, we've got a lot of friends over there, Australia, New Zealand, and it's always great fun. We get well looked after over there, and a great country. And I don't know. We're just waiting, aren't we?
Well, it's the same story as America. You know, we were due to go there, and the pandemic arrived, and we went nowhere.
Yeah, that's all of us, pretty much. Al, all the way from Florida. Have you ever played at Red Rocks, Colorado?
No.
Would you want to play at Red Rocks?
Yes. What is it? Yeah, we'll do the rocking.
What is the greatest place to play, or what is one of your favorite places to play?
The Albert Hall, London would play. We were we're doing a tour at the end of this year where we'll wind up at the London Palladium, which we did last year as well. So that's always a prestigious, nice place to play.
Glasgow Concert Hall.
That's a good one. Or Birmingham Symphony Hall. That's
Birmingham's good, yeah. I love Glasgow.
But also when we've done this, we've got a few weeks off, and then we're going on to Norway, and we play the concert hall in Stockholm. Not Stockholm, Oslo. Sorry. Yeah. So we've got favourite places over there, everywhere really.
What about you, Peter?
Yeah, like I say, I like. I more go for the prestigious ones. Are lovely. Playing the Palladium, playing the Albert Hall. They're all nice, but it's where an audience catches fire for me. Is when some auditoriums they're so comfy and so dead, and everybody's like sort of asleep anyway when you're playing, and you play some nice music. Oh, that's nice music. You have a couple of drinks now. And the thing is that if you applaud, they can't hear the applause. But some places, Darlington was a place, the little civic hall in Darlington, but Glasgow is I don't know what it is about that place. You go out there and it's just electric in the air, and any sound is amplified. So when people go, "What?" And then that kind of generates you to be excited, and then they get excited, and those are the kind of venues that I like. Darlington, Glasgow, I can't think of a couple of
Aberdeen
was
going
great.
farther north. Aberdeen, and the audience were louder than we were. They're singing along.
It's great.
It's wonderful, you know.
Yeah, rather than sometimes when audiences sing, it's so dead. You think, are they enjoying it? Are there anybody there? And that's difficult when you get like a dead theatre like that.
We had a great I had Leo Sayer yesterday, as I mentioned. We were talking about live performances and the presence of the fourth wall. And, you know, entertainment terms, for those of you that haven't heard it, I said it briefly, but
That's a very lovely thing to say.
it is.
Yes, I'm an actor.
Yes,
Can't
yes.
break the fourth wall.
Well, because it's right, because we are so used to screens and TVs and things that we often forget as a live audience to react. We often forget to react because we're used to having a fourth wall. And so live performance should break that, and it should make you feel a part of it, and that's kind of what they're referencing. And we have referenced yesterday with Leo. The louder you are and the more fun you have, it's felt on stage.
Yeah,
it's palpable.
You're right.
It is, no, absolutely.
And it influences your performance to a certain
Totally.
extent.
Yeah, it's the same way as when you look down in the front row and somebody's like this. Or like this. That influences. And the thing is, you can have an audience of people really having a fabulous time.
Yeah.
And my eyes drawn to the one person. Of
course.
Like that. You're looking to see you, are you okay? You know.
Did you come here intentionally?
And I have to make it my mission to try and get them to smile, you know, and forget all the other people.
I was going to say thousands of people, but
Yeah, and I come off really cheesed off because one person was just confused. He thought they were at the wrong concert. Who are this band? Who's this?
But it was a Christmas concert.
Yeah, he came to see the Searchers.
Where's the Manfreds when you need them?
Yeah.
Tony, what about you? What is it? Does the crowd influence you as well? Do you feel? I mean,
That's universal.
Yeah.
That's universal. Yeah, absolutely. Sure. I haven't seen many people falling asleep recently, to be honest.
No, we haven't lost anybody either, have we, recently?
don't say it out loud.
Well,
Anyway.
Yeah.
You actually, last time we talked, Tony, you were talking about you still get a little bit of butterflies before shows and performances. Is that a thing still for you?
Yes, and I try and tell myself that's important that I am doing.
It is.
But yeah, there's always, there's an awful lot of, it's not just yourself, there's an awful lot of equipment we rely on.
Sure.
And if any of that goes down, it can ruin the night. Having said that, actually that can become the main part of the night,
Yeah.
where people realise, now what are you going to do?
Yeah. Entertain us.
Yeah, so it's also as well the fact if you're in the middle of a tour and you sort of gig fit, if you like, you're doing night after night, you have a certain kind of thing that you can relax and you can be a bit nervous, but you kind of relax into it more. If you haven't played together, COVID was difficult because you had so long that you haven't actually played together. You lose a certain kind of confidence that you build naturally.
You doubt yourself.
Yeah.
Well, you're really wondering if you can do it again. And COVID went on, the lockdown for ever, it seemed. And to be able to come back and just perform like we just left off and start again, it
was. We had. I think it was it Birmingham? Was it? We started off in Birmingham, the tour. I don't know.
Yeah.
And we hadn't played together for a long time, and we all fell about. But what was lovely is that we all sort of, you pluck your ears and you count in, and away you go. And it's like, it felt like an old car. It was a bit rickety, a bit lumpy, but eventually a few bangs and a few squeaks, and away you go, and it rolls on, and it gives everybody, you fall into that lovely feeling of familiarity.
Well, I'm sure I speak for the audience when I say thank you for sharing that, because I think we forget sometimes, it humanizes, right? There's a human element to that certainly that, you two, Bob and Tony, you've been on stage for 60 years with this group and 20 years for yourself.
Yeah.
We think you guys just show up and go because it's just what it is. It's robotic almost. I think we as an audience tend to view performers like that, and we forget that it means something for you guys as well. There's nerves.
Robotic is for me is like a negative connotation.
Absolutely.
For me, it's about connection.
Yeah.
And connection in music, especially when for me coming in to join a band, that's when you notice you either fit into a band, and it's not whether you can sing or whether you can do whatever you do. You've got to be able to do that well. Fitting into band is to fit into the harmony of the relationships within that band.
Absolutely.
And any band, that's when the kids, the reason that it becomes special because they've got a special relationship between each other that spur them on to be greater than the individual. That's basically what it is. And for me to come into this band, thank you. For me to come into the Hollies, as the Hollies were then, it's very important that you notice what's going on, feel what's going on. And we've always had, and I've said this to many people that ask me what's it like and blah, 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 to come into the Hollies. I say it's the best job in the world. It's simply we have the best time on tour. We all meet up and we don't take it for granted. We go on tour, we love getting backstage and we have a little pot of tea and we have a bit of a laugh and we go out and have a beer afterwards and we all do individually what we do. But it's the whole thing. And getting on stage, it's effortless somehow because we have the same guy on our sound, Dave, who's been doing the sound all the time. I've been there. I put my ears in and the sound's perfect. And this guy out the front, he's been doing it for 20 years. Everything's in its place. Everybody does their thing and nothing's out of place, you know.
It's beautiful how it can come together.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And I always appreciate it because when I do other gigs on my own or with other people, it's never the same. It's always nice to come home.
So it's not just the band, it's the crew. The crew are like family as well.
Sure.
And I think we've got the crew in tonight. But you're right. We've got the same guys who've been with us. I mean, how many? Well, we've got 6 in the band and 6 crew.
Yeah.
We've got the lampies, that's the lighting guys.
Yeah.
And they all fit in. They're all family, and it's a joy to be with them.
And if they don't fit in, they go very quickly.
Well, there's something to be said for that, right? I mean,
absolutely. The thing that I used to, people ask me, what is the best advice you can give so any young child coming into this business, you know, being a singer, a guitarist, what you can do? And I always say to them, you've got to be able to do what you do. Play drums, sing, piano. You don't have to be Oscar Peterson, you don't have to be, Steve Gadd, or you don't have to be Steve Lukather. You've got to be able to play the gig you're supposed to do, but more importantly, be nice.
It's such a simple message.
And that applies with every job that you do. Every job you do, nobody wants a pain in the arse.
No. Right. It's interesting that you, as you glance delicately at Tony.
No.
It is interesting though because that's how we create these cruises to a certain extent. Is there are certain artists who've performed with us before that they're wonderful, but they didn't fit you as an audience. They weren't pleasant, or they just weren't outgoing. They weren't kind. They weren't nice.
Did they need a darkened room?
And green gummy bears only.
Green gummy bears.
And it just doesn't. Just be nice.
Be nice.
Just be nice. It's such an easy message. It's not easy to do for everybody, but it's an easy message.
Yeah.
Last question we have from the audience, Nancy from Denver. Since Paul and Ringo are playing on a song or two on the Rolling Stones record upcoming, who would you want to be that has or hasn't ever been with you guys? Who do you want to record with? What do you think, Tony?
I really like Steve Lukather, the guitarist who was with, Toto. And it'd be great to see what he could do.
He's great, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's really
Bobby, do you have anybody off the top of your head?
Can't think of anybody.
It could be then or now. It could be then. It doesn't have to be.
That in the past. Well, it was nice to work with Elton. He was very professional. He's a great piano player.
Oh.
I mean,
Is he?
Well, when he was raised white, nobody knew whether he could play or not. But we took the chance and employed him. And we paid him, I think, about 10 quid. About about $15 for that first session at Abbey Road for He Ain't Heavy. He was so important to that track because his timekeeping with the piano playing made my job easy.
Yeah, I'm sure, as the drummer. Before we let you get out of here, tell us a little bit about what we got sitting right here.
That's I grew up. I've always kept diaries since I was a kid because my father did. So I've got all the detail, and I started writing this, and I've got a barn full of memorabilia and photographs, and I've got it all here. And I got together with the publisher and started writing, and he said, "I think you've got enough. We've got enough words now." Well, I've only got up to about 1983, and it finishes in 1983. So I've got to start working on volume 2, which I'm
clearly thinking of doing. And where can people find this if they're interested?
Well, it'll be on Amazon and all that sort of stuff. What?
Amazon?
Rob, where will it be?
It's on the website.
On the website.
It's on the website, yeah.
On the Hollies website.
All right, thanks, Rob.
Good contribution, Rob.
Rob.
They could like that one.
Some of the pictures in here, Rob hasn't taken.
Oh, they're very
Yeah,
cool.
that one there. That's Rob's.
Right there on the back?
Yeah, there he is.
You can see that, but...
Rob, that was taken in Norway. Was it in Oslo?
Very cool. And this is your time in the Hollies. My life in the Hollies.
It's my life before that, when I was from being a kid.
Got it.
I was born when the Japanese were bombing Pearl Harbor.
Oh.
And my dad, I remember that because my father always reminded me, Pearl Harbor be on documentary or whatever, and he goes, Robert, that's when you were born. So, yeah. So
Wasn't your fault.
it goes right. It goes right back to little Robert.
Gotcha. And Tony, have you read it yet? No.
Not all of it.
But you lived it though. You lived it, so it's all right.
Well, he's lived it, yeah.
But yeah, fair enough.
It's good.
I know today's a little shorter for you, and I do apologize. But of course, as everyone understands, with you gentlemen getting on board today, you traveled here today. You got on board this early afternoon. You came up to do this with us, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
And now you're running right down. You got 2 shows, and then you're on. You're off back across the pond. Yeah, tomorrow. Back to rock and roll. So I know some of you are looking forward to a few things. First things first, we do not have time. I'm really sorry. We do not have time for autographs because they have to go right back down. It's 5:45, and that show is in 45 minutes. So I'm sure you understand.
Might be quick now.
Yes, we're going to be quick. Do me a favor though, before you run out. Do me a favor, as loud as we can. Help me thank these 3 world-class individuals.
We're Foreigner, inviting you to join us and many of our good friends on board the 70s Rock and Romance Cruise.
The 70s Rock and Romance Cruise is back in 2024, and it's sure to be one rockin' reunion. You'll see over 50 live performances from the bands that made the 70s so special, including Foreigner performing the hits at sea, Randy Bachman, founder of Bachman Turner Overdrive and the Guess Who, Dave Mason, War, Generation Radio, Ambrosia, Pablo Cruz, Firefall, Orleans, Queen Nation, Hotel California, A Salute to the Eagles, Creedence Revived, and many more to be added soon. Enjoy 7 days under the sun while rocking out with the best in classic rock. Setting sail March 14th on the Celebrity Summit from Miami and making stops in the beautiful southern Caribbean ports of Aruba and Curacao. As always, go behind the scenes with the stars at over 25 celebrity interactive events, including Q&As, panel discussions, and more. Plus, celebrate the culture of the 70s with nightly pool parties that will keep you singing and dancing all night long. Join us in 2024 and relive the era that made you feel so good.